FAA reports 7 near misses so far this year. So I would like to welcome back aviation expert or aviation safety and NAS expert Philip Mann. Philip, great to see you again. I can't believe we're talking about even more incidents, but here we are. I'd like to start with this emergency evacuation. Close to 200 people had to get off that plane in Denver. American Airlines is now blaming a maintenance issue involving a tire. What is your reaction? What is your reaction to this video?
My reaction to the video is to me it looks like a routine sort of evacuation from an aircraft that for some reason had to stop on the runway. In this case, they were preparing for takeoff. They blew a tire. They had to basically slam on the brakes. The brakes caught fire. The procedure is to get people off the plane as quickly as possible, just in case something more serious is going on. So this looks pretty routine to me, minus the kind of shaky, pardon me, minus kind of the shaky cell phone video. But there's nothing super shocking about it. The smoke makes it look sensational, but it's just people getting off a plane like they're supposed to.
You know what? If I ever have to use an emergency slide, I hope I am sitting next to somebody as calm as you to keep me calm. All right, so this evacuation that we're looking at, Philip, it happened Saturday. The day before that, on Friday of last week, there was that Southwest jet, which had to abruptly dive to avoid a mid-air collision with another plane over Burbank. What is your reaction, again, considering the recent near mid-air collision between a B-52 bomber and a SkyWest commercial flight near Minot, North Dakota?
Yeah, the one that we just the one that happened over North Dakota that one concerns me much more because it involved the military plane and it involved the fact that nobody was notified of it being there. Now this near miss here with there's near collision here with the Southwest plane and this Hawker jet. The Hawker jet is a Cold War era vintage fighter plane. It doesn't have a whole lot of equipment on it. But the Southwest plane, it's alert, it's a collision avoidance system, told the pilot, it was aware of the Hawker plane, told the pilot, hey, climb, dive, whatever it told them to do, and they did that. So this is a lot of ways, this is that one layer of fallback that's actually working as it's intended. They have systems on the commercial planes that if they detect something that's not right, they tell the pilot dive or climb, and the pilot will immediately dive or climb in response to what the system is telling them. So this is really a system working. And these, this was technically a near miss. This is technically a near miss, near collision, depending on what they're using this week, because the planes were within their minimums. They were within that 3 miles. They were within that 1,000 feet vertically, but they were still nearly 2 miles apart. They were still, quite a distance, for practical purposes between them. But a lot of these alerts happen because we try to maintain a much, much bigger safety margin than like what you'd expect in highway traffic where cars are bumper to bumper and fender to fender and that kind of thing.
All right, yeah, that's a good point. So I'm going back to look at the words that we use in the intro here. The FAA reporting 7 near misses so far this year. We're taking a look at some of them. Philip, are you concerned with the number of airline close calls we seem to be seeing as of late?
It is something I think that I would need to kind of look at some more data, but just the number themselves, we're significantly down from what we were several years, even a couple decades ago. But it concerns me every time we have something, it's a near miss that gets within those little safety margins, because there's only so many layers before we get to another Reagan National. And the fact that those layers work, the fact that the layers do alert the aircraft, that's a good thing. But I think there is some trend analysis that needs to happen. There's possibly some procedure and flight analysis that needs to happen, because some of this is undoubtedly going to be linked to the air traffic controller shortage. It's going to be linked to the the equipment in the national airspace, and there may need to be adjustments to procedures and things to account for the degradation in the system, until they can get the air traffic controllers trained up and until they can get some of the modernized things in. They may just have to reduce the capacity in the system or figure out different ways to route things so that these issues and these incidents become less likely rather than more likely.
All right, so you mentioned some possible workarounds there, Philip. Do you think any of this has to do anything at all with the cuts made by the administration?
I think it's all possibly there because not knowing exactly what data the aircraft are using or what data the airlines and things are using to plan, not knowing exactly how they're staffing things, and you're showing the shortages there. Uh, Air traffic controller awareness and having some eyeballs on a screen is always going to be a huge part of this. Because the air traffic controllers really are the first line of defense to keep these things from happening. In a perfect world, they have a perfectly boring job and are just telling people to do what they're supposed to do anyway. But the fewer air traffic controllers we have, the fewer of those frontline attention, frontline observers we have, and the fewer of those we have, the more we have to rely on these fallback systems, which what happened with the Southwest plane. And there's only so many of those fallback systems that we can rely on.
Yeah, so hopefully we will not be talking about this again in the next couple of weeks. Philip Mann, always appreciate your time. Thank you.